Hello and welcome to this session on payment schedules and invoicing with payments to us. During this session we're going to go through what are payment schedules. We'll have a look at an overview of the payment schedule and invoicing process. We'll look at managing memberships with invoicing. We'll look at manually setting up of a payment schedule, and we'll look at setting up the invoice body that goes into the payment schedule invoice, and we'll run through a complete example of the processing of invoicing and payment schedules. We'll start by having a look at an overview page on our user manual on the website. This talks about a setup process for an invoice or a payment schedule. What happens is on the due date of the invoice going out, an invoice will be generated through the batch process that will then send a invoice and an email to the person that's going to receive the invoice. They can click on a link to pay for that invoice right then and there, or they can send a check and money order back in. You then receive the payments if it's a check, and you mark that off as processed, and then that will mark the invoice as paid. So now we'll look at setting up of a brand new membership where that membership is to be invoiced rather than to be charged on, say, credit card. So back inside Salesforce, we'll go to the Merchant Facility tab. We'll press Go and then click into the Demo Merchant Facility. We'll scroll down to the related payment forms, memberships. We've got this as our primary form. We'll scroll into the payment options for that membership. I'm going to look into single for this example. And what I'm going to do here is change the frequency. Instead of being once off, we're going to change it to being quarterly, which means that they will receive an invoice every quarter. The amount they receive each quarter is going to be $10. I'll go save. So that's the setup. So it needs to be a regular type of membership. So now if I go to the Manual Payments tab, and I'll take a membership for a contact that is already inside our system. We'll look that up and we'll choose Angela Hill. That brings back Angela's details. I then select it'll be cash. The membership type is going to be single. And then I go save. So now if I go back to the Payment Transactions tab, I should and select today's transactions. I'll see that manual payment has come in and it's been marked as complete, so it's fully processed. I click into here, I can see Angela Hill, I can see Angela the opportunity, I can see the recurring payment has been created, and I can see the subscription. So the subscription and membership is as per normal, but this time we have created a recurring payment because this was a recurring regular payer. Now the difference with this one is we didn't capture a credit card, so this is going to be on invoice because it's a manual cash payment. I can see that the last payment date is the 27th of the 8th, the next payment date is the 27th of the 11th, and that this is active. Now what is different here is that this particular record type here is of type payment schedule. So that's all it's required for setting up a membership that will be on invoice. We'll go through this a little bit later on and talk about how we can actually send out that invoice and the processing of that invoice. Other options with using payment schedules and invoicing is not only just with memberships, but maybe just want to send out a regular invoice. Some people manage donations this way, where donors want to be invoiced regularly, or perhaps you have a rental property or rental equipment where you want to send out an invoice. So to manage that particular scenario, what you do is you would go to the Contact tab. You would click into or search and locate your contact, click into the contact, scroll down to the recurring payment section and set up the payment and schedule. This time you would select payment schedule as the record type, press continue. You would give it a name such as Max. You would need to make sure the status is active. You need to select a merchant facility and the payment form. You need to select your frequency. We'll make this monthly. You need to put in an amount, so I'll make this $100, and then we'll make the next payment date, today's date. So that's all that's required for setting that up, and then that will then get picked up in the payment processing for the invoice next run on the next due date. So we've now looked at two options for setting up recurring payment schedules and invoicing. One is for a membership that gets invoiced quarterly, another is for somebody that gets invoiced monthly. What I'd like to do now is have a look at the body of the invoice text. Most of this is set up very similar to receipt text, so also check out that video and online details. So if we go to the merchant facility again, we'll press go and click into the demo facility. We'll scroll down to the related list for payment forms. We'll click into the membership payment form because that's the one we've got our membership linked to. We'll scroll down to the receipt and invoicing section here, and this is where you can see the body of the invoice is actually maintained. So it's going to say attention and then mail merge first name, thank you for your custom, invoice for, and then the invoice amount. So now we'll have a look at running the invoicing process from beginning to end. We've set up the recurring payment schedules under the recurring tab through the membership option and manually. We've set the next payment due date as being today's date. What would normally happen is a background process is set up on the demo on the merchant facility that runs each morning at about 1 a.m. in the morning. That will have a look at all those recurring payments that are due to be invoiced today, and will generate the payment transaction / invoice at that time. We're going to manually run this process now, and what that will do is that will create a new payment transaction, and I can see those transactions there. If I filter by record type, I'll see the manual ones, and I can see these are of type payment schedule. So there's our $100 payment schedule start, and that's actually for Dwayne. So there's actually a two-step process that happens here. The first step is generating of the payment transactions, and then the second step, and these would all happen automatically without you having to normally intervene, is for that process or that status to be updated and the invoice is actually sent, and that's managed by the batch processor. If we go back to our payment transaction screen and do a refresh here, you'll see that the status is now changed to awaiting payment. What would have happened here is the recipient would have received an email with the invoice attached. The email received would look very similar to this one here with the invoice attached, and you can see the body has been mail merged in here with the receipt body. The payer can then click on the Pay Now button, which takes them directly to the checkout form, pre-filled with all their details. They can confirm their details and simply come in here, enter their card number, CCV. If you have captures enabled, enter that, and then go continue pay. If the person making the payment was to send in the check details and you were to receive them, or they were to transfer them by internet banking, then what you would do is come into Salesforce, click on the payment transaction form, locate all of those payments that are awaiting payment. You may enter some of the details like the check number or that sort of thing. You would locate the person making that payment that had them outstanding. You would select that and then go approve, so you can approve multiple at once, or you can even just click into the payment transaction and then mark the payment as been received, and that will flag it as being received. So we've now been through payment schedules. We set up a membership and a manual one. We then ran the invoicing process to generate and send the invoices out. A person can pay the invoice by clicking on the link and paying by credit card straight away, or you can go into the payment transaction awaiting payments tab and mark them off one by one or in a group. There's more information and step-by-step instructions on payment schedules on our website under the user manual. So thank you very much for listening.